Weazel News.
Breaking news.
Hello, Los Santos. I'm Greg Gramberg, live with Weazel News. Today I'm joined with the LSPD regarding the situation of Rob Dirk. Rob Dirk has sadly passed away in the custody of the LSPD. Gentlemen, can you tell me what happened here?
Yeah, I'll go and speak here. So it is my regret and sincerest apologies to inform everyone of LSPD that we have had a death while in officer custody. Rob Dirk, who many of us, I knew very well, and many of us know very well, passed away in MRPD, or Mission Row Police Department, early yesterday. He failed to receive medical attention in a timely manner and ended up dying inside of police custody. I want to stress that we are taking this very seriously. We are not in a situation where anything is being every stone is being flipped and examined, and justice will be brought to Rob and to the people that didn't receive medical treatment within our care. Currently, there are two officers that are on not suspension, but on holy crap. There are two officers that are currently suspended. One of them is a LSPD officer, and the other one is a state police officer, pending investigation. Once the investigation is complete, we'll be sending our findings up to the Attorney General's office with any recommendations that we have for charges to be pressed against whatever offenses have been committed, and they will be held to the standards of the law.
All right. So I'm gonna ask you guys a few questions here. So what happened prior to all this to Rob Dirk? What was he taken in for?
So Mr. Dirk, there's members of the SDLA, which is one of the gangs here in the city, that was pulled over for a traffic stop. It turned into a pursuit after a motorcycle had sped off with the driver, and that was being carried on the back of the motorcyclist's vehicle. After that, a long pursuit took place with multiple officers being shot at and multiple SDLA members being shot.
What are you doing?
The pursuit terminated and was about to be they were about to be taken into pillbox treatment and MRPD treatment when another rival gang known as the White Hats intervened, as my understanding, and began shooting at the officers on scene. At that point, the call was made to transport the wounded to Mission Row Police Department, where before they were able to receive treatment, and that was the point where they were left unsupervised for quite a few minutes, and Mr. Dirk ended up bleeding out in that process.
Wow, it's very sad. I think that's all the questions I have. If anyone from the audience wants to take a seat next to me and ask a few questions.
I'd actually like to speak before we do that.
Oh, yep, Shane. All yours, man.
All right. So I would like to start off by apologizing for the comments that I made at Pillbox. They are uncalled for. At the time, I had no idea what the situation was with Mr. Dirk. I was honestly just being childish, and it was the one name that I heard. And I mean, I am a jokester. I don't know if any of you really know me, but I have joked around with people. It's really not an excuse, but I will make sure that comments like that will never come out of my voice ever again, as well as the any officers within the city.
Thank you, Shane. All right, if anyone wants to come up and ask a few questions, you're more than welcome to. How's it going, sir? What is your name?
My name is Kenny Cage. For those of you who don't know, I'm Rob Dirk's adopted son. I just have one question about, there was a third party, or I guess a fourth party on scene that I heard when he was driving around. He was getting shot at by both white hats and police. I just was interested if you guys had any comments on that.
So personally, I wasn't there, but from my understanding, it sounded like the white hats were trying to take advantage of a situation with SDLA and police and activity. Obviously, SDLA was, in the process of being pursued and returned fire upon by cops. And at that point, with weakened numbers, I think the white hats saw it as an opportunity to maybe strike at SDLA, and I believe that is why all this stuff kind of spiraled even worse out of control. As far as the involvement with, going from the scene of the shooting to MRPD, I think it aided in the confusion, but it doesn't necessarily negate the fact that Mr. Dirk should have been taken for treatment first.
Okay, thank you for that. It was unfortunate that I woke up in the hospital and I had no idea. I wasn't informed of his death until quite a while later. So, well, it's much to my own regret that I wasn't able to, help him in any way. But as it stands now, it's can't really do much about it. But appreciate your words. Thank you.
My deepest apologies.
Thank you. All right, we have probably time for one more audience member to come up. How's it going, sir? What's your name? Can you speak up for me?
My name is Rick Harishka.
Hi, Rick. The floor is yours.
So Kenny over here said that Rob was getting shot by police and white hats, and on that idea, the day before all this went down, we actually caught a body cam of one state trooper in the vehicle with white hats, and I just want to know why and how he wasn't put at anything. He had no gun at his head, nothing. He didn't say nothing. Nothing happened. He just sat in the car and watched 3 of our members get mowed down, and there was no action. He didn't report it. So what I'm trying to say is, what scummy stuff is going that we don't even know about?
Rick, if you want me to, I am currently trying to work an investigation with that as well. We have narrowed it down to a department, and we are looking to see what officer it is. We've been pretty busy with dealing with Mr. Dirk's death, and we will definitely be working on following any lead that we have with the case of the armored limo.
But my issue is not about that scenario. It's about how Rob was getting shot at by cops. So those cops were shooting hand in hand with white hats, because I the people that were in the jail cell at MRPD had no taste of another white hat getting arrested, but apparently we all got arrested and Rob had to go. So I'm trying to understand what's going on.
To the best of my understanding from the about 10 to 12 hours I've put in this investigation, the white hats were a tail end aspect of the pursuit and subsequent shootings with SDLA. It seemed more sporadic and more kind of guerrilla tactics out of them, whereas the engagement with SDLA seemed to be more of a an all-out brawl, so to speak. The reason why I think we weren't able to apprehend any of the white hats was just because they were basically taking pot shots from us at far, and officers were trying to take cover and trying to return fire, but they were far enough out that we weren't able to, or concealed enough that we weren't able to accurately engage and neutralize the threat that they posed to this community.
One more thing is how... Actually, I can't. I'm good. That's enough for me.
No.
Thanks, Rick. Well, I think that's all the time we have for today.
Will you be making police security video available to the public?
Once we are concluded with the investigation, we'll make recommendations to the AG. It's up to because it's going to be used in court proceedings. It's up to the AG on whether or not he wants to release the footage or not. I'm sure I can recommend to the AG to make the footage available to the public.
And this isn't the first death caused by police negligence, correct?
I believe this is the first death that I know of that is directly led to the death of one of our city members.
We lost Dick Dickerson, from Polito, also died due to police negligence.
Did he? I believe he was treated at Pillbox and then taken to Mission Row PD.
He did not make it.
Did he not?
He did not.
He bled out in the streets.
Yep.
Which event was this that you're speaking of?
The one involving the white 50 cal.
Yes.
Yeah, I
white
remember this.
50 cal.
From the White Hats.
The
once
limo,
again.
yeah, with the 50 cal. I remember this scenario. It was more of a, he wanted to go. He didn't want to get taken anywhere. I was there, so I even asked if, we're going to grab him and take him, and everybody just circled around him, and he said no, he wants to go like this, so.
I have something to say. We have a witness who puts an officer with white hats on the roof of a building shooting at SDLA at the same time. So everybody knows what's going on. You guys can't hide that. It's not I don't understand why you're making excuses with it. And white hats were shooting and none of them had anything done to them. They were in the scene. They were there. They were around from what I've heard. So it's pretty obvious.
I'm just going to be, if anyone has footage of that or testimony of that, I would like them to come either send me a sworn statement or something of that matter.
Yeah.
And that'll be obviously put into the investigation. If this is the first time I've hearing of this from anyone, and if anyone, and this goes to anyone that's out there watching, if anyone has any extra information that can be added to the cases or added to criminal charges, I highly encourage you to reach out to myself. I am in the Discordia. You can email me or reach out to me in city, and I will give you my email in city, and I will gladly take a look at the footage or take a sworn statement and add it to our evidence list to be able to prosecute those who are breaking laws.
I have a question.
You want to come sit down in the chair?
Okay.
So everyone see it. What's your name?
It's Haley Millard.
Haley? All right, Haley, the floor is yours.
Right, I just have a question. You mentioned that there is 2 officers that from 2 different departments that have been suspended. Are we allowed to know the names of those 2 individuals?
Yeah, currently a Vanessa, let me pull up my notes for her last name. Vanessa Jenkins is on suspension, and a Frank Wozniak is on suspension.
Okay. And to my understanding and knowledge, there were other officers that were involved in this incident that played their part. What's going to be done to them?
After reviewing about 5 hours worth of body cam and cell footage, the other officers that were initially placed on suspension for investigation were released. It has been shown to me that through the actual evidence itself, not through statements, but through video footage through MRPD and officer body cam, that the individuals that were inside of the pursuit were completely within the clear for their actions. And the officers that were now, let me preface that with, if anyone does have any other footage, I would be happy to see that. But from the footage that I've received in the last 12 hours, the officers' footage, or the officers within the pursuit, were justified in their actions. Now, that doesn't justify the actions of all the officers in the jail cells, though not every officer in the jail cell was part of that scene. They were coming and going and did not understand the full situation of what was going on.
All right. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks, Haley. All right, any last dire questions from the audience?
Yeah, I got one for you.
All right, get up here. What's your name, sir?
I just started crying.
Want to speak up?
Yeah, that's fun. Name's Sgt Major Matthews.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, not a lot of people know, but I was closely related to Mr. Dirk. I was currently coming back from a tour overseas when I found out that he had passed away here. Now, come to find out when I arrived that it was due to a potential police involvement. Now, I think we all know the type of person Mr. Dirk was. Crime is crime. People do bad things. People want to change. It is what it is. But
Rob was a good man.
It does not explain to me why refusal of medical was not given to not even just him, but anyone on that scene. Coming from the military, everyone in our group knows at least something about something when it comes to medical. What kind of training are you giving, your employees, your officers, where they can't distinguish the difference between fighting people and saving a life that's already in jeopardy?
You said your name was Sgt Major Matthews. I apologize.
Yes, sir.
Sgt Major Matthews. I was a combat medic in the Army, and I absolutely understand, the importance of treating, even in the military and in policing as well, once a combatant is incapacitated or unable to, effectively fight back, our role as police officers transitions from that of keeping the city safe to being able to keep the person who is now in our custody alive and as safe as we can. having been in combat and laid over Afghanis that had previously just been shooting at me because their buddies are now throwing frag grenades at us. I understand the atmosphere of what you're trying to get at. That being said, it was the actions of two officers or two law enforcement agents law enforcement officers that was really the linchpins of why the situation turned out into the way it was. Other officers obviously were in the situation of not questioning orders, and we all know in even modern military and modern policing that now more so than ever is the time where it's not so much just a do. We need to think about the things we do before we do them. And a lot of that just didn't quite happen that night. We had a lot of newer officers and one very seasoned officer that made that wrong call that night. And it led to the death of Mr. Dirk. And it will not happen. It will not happen again with that officer, and it will be thoroughly followed through the prosecution chain as the ADA and the Attorney General's office sees fit.
You said that you were a military man yourself.
Yeah, I was a specialist in the 25th Infantry Division.
Okay, so you know how much training you have to go through to be a part of certain groups.
Absolutely.
So you're going to send someone who has no experience, no knowledge of anything out into the field where potential danger could happen? There should be proper training in place before that kind of stuff happens.
I 100%
You also know that in any firefight, once there is any lapse of fighting, that's the first thing you do. You check ammo, you check for injuries, you check to see what has happened within that time before another wave happens. Now, can you confidently sit there and tell me that at any point there was no stoppage of fire, no time to assess damages in between or get people out that were injured?
Absolutely not. And that's why, if that was the case, if what you're saying was the case, the departments and the investigation being led by myself, but being followed by the sheriff's office and the state trooper's office, we wouldn't be looking at following up charges if there was absolutely ever a point where there was a point or there was no point for us to evac people out of the area. If there wasn't the case, then I wouldn't be looking at investigating or keeping people on administrative leave. I would be, they'd be returning to duty. Now, because that didn't happen, that is why the investigation's occurring. And the reason why we will be following up, going through our training, going through what our officers understand to be true so that we can correct any deficiencies within that.
And who's leading this investigation currently?
That would be myself.
All right, well then I ask that you stick around after this conference so I can speak to you in private.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. All right. I think
one last question.
Get the fuck up, Rick.
How
Alright,
how long was Aid refused to rob Dirk before he was brought to the hospital?
He was brought to the hospital after EMT had declared him deceased on scene in MRPD. I believe the time frame is in the 20 to 30 minute mark.
Oh.
Thank you.
More like hours.
You're lying, bro. You're lying. It was like 2 hours. Oh my god.
Audience questions. Do you guys want to say anything else? Any last remarks?
I don't mind saying something as well, if I may. All right. Hello, people of Los Santos. Just wanted to say my name is Sgt DeVo Jones of the LSPD. I have a job and a role as far as watching over the officers in our LSPD. I will make sure, as my duty, because I overlooked them personally, to make sure that they follow the proper procedures and read their SOPs, and I'll make sure to crack down on that. My biggest thing as far as being an officer, I come in as a first responder before anything else. My job and duty is to make sure that I serve and protect the people of LS, and I'll make sure to reiterate that to every officer out here. I understand there's individuals out there that seek to want to hurt people. Our job is to not to be the opposite of that. And the only time that we should be bringing out any type of weapon where we have to go lethal is if it's in the matter of saving ourselves or other individuals. I make sure that when I tell officers, like, when you're going into a situation, you're not going in there to kill somebody. You're going in there to save people and possibly neutralize the suspect that is causing terror or hurting other people. When there is people that are down or hurt or dying or bleeding out, whether they're a suspect or a victim, our first job is to make sure they get medical attention. If I was there, unfortunately I wasn't. I was off at the time. I would have also stepped in and made it a duty of mine to override whatever order that was made there to not give them medical attention. I would have made sure they all would have got medical attention. So going forward, I'll make sure that every officer is going to do the same exact thing. I don't care. At the end of the day, we do have ranking, but when it comes to a person's life, ranking doesn't matter. It's that person's life that's at stake. That comes first. And those are just my few words about that.
Thank you. Well, there you have it. Thanks, guys, for coming down and explaining the whole situation. Thanks for the audience, too, for coming in and asking questions. We're going to go and cut it right here.